Hi, and welcome to Experience Points by University XP. On Experience Points, we explore different ways we can learn from games. I'm your host, Dave Ang from Game-Based Learning by University XP. Find out more by going to universityxp.com. On today's episode, we'll learn from Ercan Altug Yilmaz. Ercan is the author of Gamification for Everyone, the very first gamification book published in Turkish, selling more than 10,000 copies, and serves as a reference book for many universities. Erkan serves as the Turkey representative for the Gamification Federation, or shortly GameFed, which is a non-profit community focused on gamification globally, and he currently lectures at Bahçeşehir University in Istanbul, Turkey. On top of that, he provides gamification consulting for a variety of companies, giving mentoring for startups and making keynote talks. Erkan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dave. It's such an honor to be part of this great show, Dave.
Great. I'm glad to have you here. So, Erkan, part of the reason I asked you back was last year at the Game-Based Learning Virtual Conference, you presented on a presentation about the toy framework. So I'm familiar with it because I attended that conference session. But for those that are just learning about you and your work, what is the toy framework? And why should educators, designers, and strategists examine this framework? What gives it significance?
Thank you. The framework is we always try to be followed of some steps. And when I firstly involved gamification almost 10 years ago, Dave, I was educational technologies. Firstly, I was working for a telco company, and I'm creating some game-based solutions, simulations, serious games, some trivias, and video learning and blend learning. But we try to be gamify all this learning management systems.
Mm-hmm.
And when I take a look for some gamify process, I found many frameworks like D6, like Hook, or like Octalysis kind of framework. And every framework has some strong part. And I started after many years, I figure out that I need some 10 steps to follow, actually, and very influenced from Kevin Werbach model called D6. Probably many our listeners know about Kevin Werbach D6 model, but I updated to the toy, and toy is actually Turkish oyun. Oyun is a game in Turkey. Is actually also Turkish word too. So I translated to the toy framework with the 10 steps. And 10 steps actually, every steps actually blending with each other. And when I started to gamify some solution, we need to be take a look for these 10 steps. And I also add 118 cards below of it to understand almost like game elements or feedbacks or rewards. This kind of things are going to be a card on below in that. And people can take a look about this gamificationdescartes.com. These frameworks help us to understand which steps we follow, and 10 steps we already put on this toy framework.
Okay, thank you, Erkan. I have the website. It's gamificationdescartes.com. And I'm familiar with Kevin Werbach's work. That was where I first started examining gamification and looking for some applications. So Kevin's original book, Gamification for the Win, I'll include a link for that in the show description and show notes. But I wanted to know more from you, Erkan. There are several different frameworks you talked about, specifically, Werbach's D6 framework. We talked about Octalysis. What would you say why did you think that the toy framework was really necessary? Like you looked at existing frameworks and then you created your own. What makes yours a little bit different?
Yeah, actually, it's like a museum creator, let me say this way, because the framework actually starts with business objective, like D6 model, but I put some extra things which I am giving some consultancy to Turkish companies, or also some startups, global startups from US or Europe.
Yeah.
So everything start with the business targets. But for example, in my cards, first
Mm-hmm.
step, we have two other examples like human-centric business targets or
Mm-hmm.
company-centric business targets. I'm giving this example. So 10 steps, steps with the first step,
Mm-hmm.
we should think that what person, player going to be have in this gamification project, and also company going to be earn this project. I think I updated this step. You know
Mm-hmm.
that this steps first step is the business objectives.
Yeah.
My steps is also business objective, but you have to choose company centric and human
Mm-hmm.
centric, for example. So I updated like other cards like player types or these hook model like for triggers. Think
Mm-hmm.
about triggers and these examples. Also, the Octalysis is very important for the especially the balance of the emotions, not
Mm-hmm.
only the on the positive things, but you have to use some black hat we call, you know. So I am going to be like create this 10 steps, and I use deca mean in Latin 10.
Mm-hmm.
So we put this gamification Descartes model. So you
Mm-hmm.
can download it all English for free and try to be understand every step for this model. And you can think about which step is more important.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can think about I should choose this because we focus on human-centric
Mm-hmm.
target, like that. So this is the actually free framework, and with my experience more than 100 projects and also the almost 10 years, I got many pushback they from the
Mm-hmm.
company. Like, you know, you tell about gamification, but we are just cannot measure, for example, correctly. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because we are just talking about badges or just
Mm-hmm.
reward.
Right.
These are not actually business targets. We need to be think about not only the badges or rewards or this kind of game elements. These are statistics. At
Mm-hmm.
my 8 steps, for example, you have to think about what is going to be happen after the gamification process.
Mm-hmm.
Behavior change or increase the sales
Mm-hmm.
or decrease the turnover, something like that. We need to think about this. The successful gamification project always focus on outside of games.
Right.
Let me say again that because it's very important. When I involve the gamification, everyone talks about game element statics and player statics, you know, session times, something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
successful gamification, actually, like our mothers, you know,
Mm-hmm.
using game techniques to the children, these are after gamification. Children needs to be read book or eating their food, something
Mm-hmm.
like that. These are the behavior change, and sustained behavior change is very important for us after the game. So this is this 8 step, for example. So
Mm-hmm.
I put my knowledge for these 10 steps, and every steps actually my coming from the companies and questioning the gamification.
Mm-hmm.
And I update this model like this.
Great. Thank you, Arkan. I appreciate that. I know that the toy framework is a really good starting place, but I want to jump into the second question. And you talked a little about this a little bit, but I really want to put on the hat that I'm a business leader. I lead an organization. And you talk about in your presentation, and you discussed a little bit before about the gamification matrix. So originally, when I heard about your presentation for the conference, I was a little bit skeptical about the toy framework, but I realize now, and you also shared that it's an acronym. But let's say we're applying the toy framework through a gamification matrix, and I'm a business owner and I'm trying to solve a specific problem. How does the gamification matrix within the toy framework address, I guess, issues that I may be dealing with as a business owner? Help me put it into perspective.
Yeah, it's very important because everyone talking about gamification, sometimes they think about different things. And matrix, gamification matrix is very important. I also reference in my consultant too. At the beginning, we think about, you know, people are workers going to be play some games in my company, or they are thinking about we are very busy, how we can take another time, or is not related our serious business. For example, we are in pharmacy, we are
Hmm.
saving life, we are doctors or nurses. how we can gamify something. Gamification, they've applied anything, let me say it
Mm-hmm.
this way. Of course, it's changed like a duration, or it can be changed like a serious business and some touching with some serious words or this kind of thing. We try to be understand the target audience
Mm-hmm.
and how we can motivate these personas. And maybe sometimes if they are too busy, we are trying to put some we call nudge, just to
Mm-hmm.
try to remind them very small things and try to be put game design very shortly.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they very focus on the serious business like doctors or something like that, we are trying to be put some serious games, which you are very uh, common work on that too,
Mm-hmm.
because they some safe areas, not game areas.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be some borders and some easy to use these game elements in the free area.
Mm-hmm.
So in my steps, let me say it this way, gamification is not one solution for all, and we try to be understand target audience motivations and game cultures, and we try to be put these game 10 steps. Sometimes they can you can skip some of them, or you
Mm-hmm.
can just choose one step and choose one persona. Like I just give example, like a busy person is just using just nudge, just reminding pop-ups, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't use same tactics to the everyone. Some of them motivated with very small business, let me say it this way. Some of them need to be more journeys, player journeys, like onboarding, like a scaffolding, like a weeks, like sometimes months.
Mm-hmm.
They can be motivated. So gamification is matrix very important. There is no one solution for all. We need to understand.
Right. Wow, Erkan, thank you. I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize with gamification, that overall, sometimes organizations and leaders are just trying to get a little bit of a behavior change. And you brought up nudge there, which I think is really useful, because sometimes I feel like people are going to want to create a serious game or an educational game, and it's really going to change the world. Whereas I think that for a lot of organization leaders and business leaders, sometimes we just need a small behavior change that can happen through a nudge and using gamification and game-like elements in non-game settings. So I thank you for your feedback there. And that actually comes up to my third question and last question, because I know that individual change of behavior is really necessary. And I think that your background and my background are similar in that we're both academics, we're both professionals. So I want to ask you, blending theory and application as an academic and a practitioner, I think that you're in a pretty unique position, the one that I shared you. How do you balance theory with application? And then how do you teach your students to do the same?
Yeah, just like you said, I love this, like taking the academic theories, understand deep level, and try to be like a practitioner in the actually field. Let me say this way, Dave. And I always feeding from the field, like
Hmm.
customers or workers. I'm going to update my slides in my lecture. Yeah, I was 3 years almost full-time academician,
Hmm.
and then after pandemic, I started to give in still lecturing, but not full time, but
Hmm.
create my companies and doing some consultancy. And I can easily work right now with because I couldn't do this in when I was an academician.
Hmm.
And I'm still doing actually, if you are too academic and in this kind of experience, let's say, because you need to be feed yourself with the real human behavior.
Uh-huh.
And if you don't do any project, if you just read it or just research it, it's not enough. It's powerful, but it's not enough.
Hmm.
Uh, but I just give two lecture today. One of them was a bank for 1 hour, introduction to the gamification. They just find many places already they think that they are doing gamification, like
Hmm.
who is the best, and we put their photos in the LCD screen, and they just go to the out with the CEO, something like that, rewarding and some feedback. But
Hmm.
they understand how they can update existing gamification. They don't call it gamification in the company, but they already doing some motivational theories, and actually they are using some reward and motivational part. So this is very powerful in the field too. When as an academician you come, yes, you do this, for example, 10 steps, you do this 2 steps, but you didn't think about, for example, triggers, or maybe you can use some physical triggers. You just use application, or vice versa. You're just using actually the office environment, and you director or manager for a gamification process. Why you don't use any digital applications? So this is actually two-way. They can feed each other, and I really find this very valuable. And I can easily using. I have two hats there. I am saying, if I go to the companies, I use my academician hat. I'm using Gabe Zickerman model. I've shown some Octalysis design, something like that. This is very theoretical. People love it. But when I go to the back, actually, the students and other teachers, I'm doing mostly, by the way, doing some TTs, train of the trainers. I'm doing many lectures for the academician right now too.
Right.
And the other universities. So I use many examples from the field. Yeah, you know what? For example, D6. D6 is a great model, but they need 4 more steps, like triggers, like business objective need 2 or 3 counts, something like that. Because Kevin Werbach did that 10 years ago. Something. It's very powerful, but it's already changed. So academicians love it, And I use some company names sometimes. I'm saying Turkish Airlines did that. It worked, but this not work, for example, and they love it. Academician loves the feeding from the field, so I love it. I think you love that too, and it's very powerful to feed two part of this my career.
Right. Thank you, Erkan. I think that I do like working in industry. I also do like serving as an academic, and I feel like the distinction between both of them are that as academics, we're always thinking about why or the theory behind things, but working in a professional working environment, working in business or for corporations, a lot of the times they're going to be application focused. So how does something apply and how will it change my business or what kind of impact will it have overall? So I think that is the most memorable takeaway and something that I think that a lot of listeners for the show could also use in their own practice. So the academic side is often focused on why, but then the practical consideration is how you actually apply it. So thank you, Erkan. We are just out of time, so I'm going to go with our guest outro. Erkan, I appreciate you sharing your time with us today. Where can people go to find out more about you online?
Firstly, thanks, Dave. I got many experience points today with yours.
Nice.
I'm very proud to be part of this great show, and I love your producing content.
Thank you.
Because in LinkedIn, I just retweet. When I see in Twitter X, I just retweet. So I am, because you know that I'm a representing of GameFed and also member of GameFed Turkey. So many people love your content, and please keep it producing. I love your content. And yes, they can follow me from LinkedIn with my name, and my mostly post in Turkish. Yes, I know, and many people advise me to do that. If it's, for example, like this podcast, if it's to English, I always share in English, no problem. And gamification deck cards, they can download all free 118 cards, English tab. And also I produce with my one of students, focus on AI. We produce a custom GPT and for toy framework. It's a beta right now. It's very new. Actually, we just started like 3 or 4 months ago, and they can take a look about that too. I think it's great to be some deep dive in that too, to ask some questions. For example, I work with this company and I need to gamify hiring, or I need to gamify culture feedback, for example. Please take a look about these custom GPTs, because Chat GPT is not well enough, Dave. Maybe you try that too. But if we put some context in custom GPT, it's nice. It's good start to. Please take a look about this gamification deck cards website for custom GPT too. And like I told you, I am always happy to be part of this great show.
Great. Thank you, Erkan. Appreciate it. I'm especially looking forward to that new GPT because I think that applying generative artificial intelligence would be great for our work. So thank you again, Erkan.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
I hope you found this episode useful. If you'd like to learn more, then a great place to start is my free course on gamification. You can sign up for it at universityxp.com/gamification. You can also get a full transcript of this episode, including links to references in the description or show notes. So thanks for joining us. Again, I'm your host, Dave Bang from Game-Based Learning by University XP. On Experience Points, we explore different ways we can learn from games. So if you like this episode, please consider commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Subscribing is absolutely free and ensures that you'll get the next episode of Experience Points delivered directly to you. I'd also love it if you took some time to rate the show. I live to lift others with learning, so if you found this episode useful, consider sharing it with someone who could also benefit. Also, make sure to visit University XP online at universityxp.com. University XP is also on Twitter and Blue Sky as University XP, and on Facebook and LinkedIn as University XP. Also, feel free to email me anytime. My email address is dave@universityxp.com. Game on.